Welcome to Puzzled and Chatty, the Canadian edition, with me, Adam Gray, where I talk with people in the jigsaw and speed puzzling world and hear their stories and thoughts on this growing competitive activity and the puzzle community. In this episode, I sit down with a puzzler who may have one of the longest active daily puzzle streaks. They stream their puzzling on Twitch, are involved in developing rankings for the US, and certainly know their math. They're the statistician, they are Isa Urrutia. We'll talk about what it's like to live stream puzzling, what may be taken into consideration when developing puzzle rankings, and the challenges that go with that, discuss the upcoming Speed Puzzle World Series, and more. So pull up a chair and pick a puzzle off the shelf to do while you listen to two people who are puzzled and chatty. Hello and welcome to another episode of Puzzled and Chatty, the Canadian edition. I am here with Isa this time, and I'm very excited to speak with him. Welcome, Isa.
Thank you. Excited to chat.
So you are not currently living in Canada, so we have another guest who is living south of the border in the US at the moment, and we're going to talk about that a little bit because you are heavily involved, it seems, with the US puzzle organization, and we'll talk about all of that. But before we get into what you're doing now, let's start from the beginning. And how did you kind of get into puzzling?
I think I am in the smaller class of people who didn't puzzle at all growing up. I think I can count, like, I did two puzzles before like my mid 30s. And I wasn't really doing them. One was my mom's cousin out of Stratford, Ontario. We were visiting in them and they happened to have a puzzle out on the table. So that's one. And second, at one point, my dad brought home a puzzle from Japan, but it was a tessellation, which means it was a repeating pattern and the repeats lined up with the puzzle cut. So we did that over like 2 months, and we did it by having stacks of puzzles that were the same piece shape and same picture and just like going at it little by little. And I don't think I put more than 10 pieces in, so I wouldn't even really count that, but I'm like including it for completionism. Yeah, so no puzzles at all growing up.
And you still want to do puzzles even after what sounds like a nightmare?
Oh, that was a long time ago. I don't remember how painful it was.
Yeah, one of those repressed puzzle memories. I think we all have some of those in there. So when did you decide to make a jump or like re-enter the puzzle world and go into speed puzzling?
Yeah, so I used to play a lot of board games before puzzles took over. And at one point, I had gone through all of these. They're called Exit by Cosmos with a K. They're like an escape room in a box, tiny box, one-off adventure. Had, I think, done almost all of those, and then was at a board game store, and I was visiting someone in New York, and we're like going through to find something to do. We found one called Grounds for Murder by Murder She Wrote, and this was again the same type of thing, like this one-off. It has like a murder mystery pamphlet, and you read it, and it's like a kind of like a whodunit, and then it comes with a jigsaw puzzle, and you're meant to solve the jigsaw puzzle, and that's like a photo of the crime scene, and you're meant to use that to figure out the murder mystery. Except the puzzle part was really fun. I was like, oh, that's good. Went back and bought another jigsaw puzzle, and then almost immediately watched Wicker Kittens. And this would have been like 2018, maybe 20 or late 2018, maybe early 2019. And signed up for a small jigsaw puzzle competition in Duluth, Minnesota, just like small one-off. Did the competition and came back. And then thought, oh, that was fun. Signed up for Worlds for 2020 with like almost no other experience, and of course that didn't happen.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
Something happened, but not that.
Yeah, it got canceled. Never went to, and have never been to Worlds. And then what else happened? Oh, and then when the world kind of reopened, signed up for Winter Carnival in 2022, and the fun fact, like there's a team out of Minnesota that's pretty well known called the You Betchas, with Sarah Schuler and Don Rasmussen and Andrea Kyle. So I was on the team at Winter Carnival where Andrea, Kyle, and Dawn met. So it was us three and someone from California. And I'll say I wasn't very into speed puzzling at that point. Like I think of it, I got into it in like two phases. So it was that initial like slow burn, but at that point in my life, I had a lot going on. I was like in the middle of like an international move. I was finishing a degree while I was working full time. I was like fully in a completely different hobby. And so the speed puzzling was just kind of like something I was dabbling in, but I wasn't taking very seriously. It was just like, oh, this is a kind of a quirky, fun thing to do. And then after Winter Carnival in 2022, I basically stopped. I was kind of burnt out. I was going through like a lot of personal stuff and I just offloaded my plate, and puzzling was one of the things that just I sold my puzzles, you know. I was like, okay, that was fun. I'm going to move on to the next phase in my life. And then I got really into some other stuff, did another hobby, that finished. And then through work, most of my team at work were really into board games. And so as a team, we unofficially went on team retreats to a board game convention out of in Philly called PAX Unplugged, which is from Penny Arcade. It's a famous webcomic. And Ravensburger was there, and they were hosting a jigsaw puzzle competition. And this would have been like 2025, I believe. And I thought, oh, I used to do speed puzzling. And so I did it in December, and I had such a good time that I went, okay, wait, this is it. My other hobby had trailed off, and I was like, okay, I want to get into this now. And so I was within like signing up for Philly. I was also signed up for the next Winter Carnival 2025. And then I signed up for US Nationals. And then I signed up for Portland Jigsaw Masters in Portland, the West Coast. And I signed up for a 24-hour marathon in California. And I did my state championships. And then I got really into it. And right now I am very into it. So,
Yeah, I would say so because you're doing a lot with speed puzzling. I think one of the more notable things is you currently have a streak going. Can you just describe what that is?
right. Okay. So I don't know when this will air, but as we are recording, I think I'm on day 435 of my puzzle a day streak. So what happened there was I have a story for everything. I was at
That's why
PAX
you're on here.
Unplugged. Yeah. I'm at PAX Unplugged, and there's some really fast puzzlers there, which was kind of part of why I got really excited about it. I was like, oh, some people can really, really do this. I wonder if I can really do this. And so I asked, I think it was Tiffany Medeiros. I asked her, so what do you do to get faster? How do I get faster? And she said, oh, you should puzzle more. And I thought, yeah, that makes sense. And and so I thought, well, if I puzzle every day, that'll probably help. And so I think it was right after I got back from Philly. I thought I started my puzzle a day streak, and that was December 2025. And now we're in wait, no,
24.
December 2024. Thank
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, December 2024, and now it's February 2026. And to be fair, I've loosened my definition of what puzzling every day is. Uh, so on my Instagram, I post a separate puzzle every day, and it has to be a different one. It can't be repeats because I made that rule up. And then the second rule is every day I need to do some form of puzzling. And it might be I do a bunch of runs and drills in one day. That definitely ticks the box. That's a lot of puzzling in a day. But it might also be I pick away for 30 minutes at my big slow puzzle on my dining room table, or I run a few drills or when I'm traveling, I actually brought props. When I'm traveling, I have these like itty bitty puzzles. So I'll take these with me and I'll just do these once or twice. And that also checks the box. So like I'm trying to be as flexible as possible. And what's on the Instagram does not at all match the puzzling I'm doing. Because for example, right now I'm doing a lot of reruns, but I can't post those because those are already on Instagram. So I just post stuff I have from my backlog.
So of the 435 days as of this recording, by the time it comes out, it's probably closer to 460, maybe, probably in that area. I'll definitely have the right number on the screen the day it goes live. But are is that 435 unique puzzles then that you've posted?
Hmm. Yeah,
Ra
unique.
ranging in sizes, I'm assuming.
Yeah, sometimes like I think it was October, my friend lent me this Halloween advent calendar, and it was a bunch of little minis, and so I just posted those every day with interspersed with some other Halloween ones because I was like, oh, it was
Yeah.
Halloweeny and it was right, but in the background I was building up a backlog of other stuff.
Yeah, I try to post as much as I can. Now that I have things posting from like this channel, it makes it a little bit easier not having to do a puzzle as often. And then I post multiple times, 3 times for each puzzle, because I was trying to do what do, where it's
Mm.
different puzzle every single, and it's just one. It's just there's so much to get through, and then like if I'm doing 1,000 piece, I would have to finish the 1,000 piece, and sometimes it can take a while. It's also expensive to get through all of those puzzles as well. So I had to rethink how I was going to do it, and that's what I'm doing now. But it's not ideal. I can't imagine what it's like doing 435 I think I'm at 320 on my account, but even then, it's been going
Yeah.
longer than yours. Um,
Yeah, I think the minis help a lot,
that
just in
definitely helps.
terms of,
Yeah.
yeah, generating a lot. Also, when you go to a competition, I'm like, boom, I have a week. You're doing like 7 puzzles in a day because you're doing your competition and your qualifier, and then you go back to the hotel and you do 3 more, and so you go. And every time I do it, I'm like, click, click, that's another day. Click, that's another day. Like the backlog is healthy, healthy and robust, and because like you said, it's like I don't think that the streak is necessarily aligned with being competition ready. And what I mean by that is like reruns I think are super helpful, like the speed runs and things like that, or repeating puzzles. It is, and that's not like I like having a healthy backlog so that I can have days where I'm just running the same puzzle 3 times or something like that. um because
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Like I'm just looking up for 2026, I'm actually trying to keep track of all my actual stats. Usually I just keep track of the new puzzles that I have done in that year. I think right now new puzzles for the year I'm at 12 or 13 maybe, but
Mm-hmm.
in total I've done 111 puzzles. If I'm including all the repeats and training things and everything else. So yeah, what's shown on social media is not what's happening necessarily behind the scenes. It would just be
Same.
I'd be posting like a bunch time, like what, we're not even at 60 days into the year. So essentially 2 puzzles on average per day. It's no, I'm not posting that.
Yeah. Are you doing like the same? Are you doing the same puzzle many, many, many times, or are you kind of like benchmarking as this is a puzzle, I'm doing it, I did it last year, I'm comparing my time?
So it's different scenarios for each. Some I'll run multiple times to try to get it under a certain time frame.
Mm,
So like my goal is to have as many of, like, especially Ravensburger, because that's what's in most competitions. I'll try to have as many Ravensburgers as possible under the 50-minute mark. That's the first
mm-hmm.
goal for them. For some, it takes a lot, like Rabbit Recital, I finally got this week, and that was who knows how many attempts to get under 50 minutes, and that's been put away for a while. And then the next goal is to get them under 40 minutes, but I'm only at 14 or 15 puzzles so far under the 40-minute mark. So
Yeah.
I try different things, and then if I'll try to do as many like flower puzzles every so often because that's one of my not strengths, and that will definitely show up at some competition this year. And I don't want it to be in a qualifying round and then prevent me from getting to a finals. So flowers
Yeah.
makes an appearance.
Yeah. No, the Canadian Nationals ones were particularly difficult. Geez, you had some really, really tough flowers ones. Um, Note on Rabbit Recital. The flowers, sorry, did I? Yeah. The finals one was, what's it called? Walk in the Rain.
Oh yeah, walk in the rain. Because I was thinking, no, it was the U.S. that had all the flower
Oh
crazy
yeah, yeah.
stuff
We
last
also
year.
had flowers.
Yours was much worse. Our qualifier rounds were the lake images, which I don't like landscapes, but we Maureen Lake and Joffrey Lakes, they were fine. But
They
yeah, the
had,
walk in the rain was no, that was no,
yeah.
no.
It was a double 4F. If you know, like the dreaded 4Fs. Have you
Yeah,
heard of? Yeah, double. It was double. It was a flower forest, like forest foliage forest.
Yep.
Yeah, Walk in the Rain was a tree, that's one F, and it was a flowery tree. It was a double F.
Yeah, if there was some sort of dog painted on there as well, that would have been just add in the fur, no chance. So yeah, you're still so you have the big long streak going, and then you also have an entire Twitch channel dedicated to puzzling as well. So before we go into that, where can people follow both of these accounts, the Instagram and your Twitch?
Yeah, so the Instagram is Radical Puzzler, all one word, and the Twitch is Radical Puzzler TTV, which if you live on Twitch, TTV is Twitch TV. So when someone has that in their name handle, it usually means they also stream. We hang out in each other's chats. So yeah.
And those will both be in the description below and on the screen as well. So yeah, follow along on both of those. But how or why, I don't know what I'm saying. Why did you decide to go into streaming yourself puzzling?
I was streaming myself my hobby my hobby right before the I got really into the speed puzzling was I was playing a video game and I was streaming myself a little bit there, and so I was on Twitch and I was watching people, and I looked up the jigsaw puzzle category on Twitch, and there were people streaming there, and so I started hanging out in their chats and met some friends. And when I started getting into the puzzling world and created my Twitch puzzling account, I was hanging out, especially I have some friends, Kyle Kosen, Kyleco on Twitch. He streams a lot and has a lot of people on. He was kind of encouraging people to get on and stream as well. Yeah, there weren't, okay, I'm going to back up. There weren't a lot of people streaming jigsaw puzzles on Twitch, but there were some. And then we were all kind of talking about how wouldn't it be nice if there was Twitch puzzle TV? Like you could turn on Twitch at any time of day and you could just hang out and watch somebody puzzling. And so I think it was like through that community, we kind of made that happen. So yeah, I jumped on Twitch, but I'm not the only one. There's a bunch of us. I think there are like 15 of us or so. We have our own Discord group and we're pretty much all speed puzzlers, and we're just in each other's chats all the time. So it wasn't so much me deciding to jump in and start streaming on Twitch, but it was kind of like a move that a friend group made. And I just kind of tagged along that, and it's been really fun.
Now, I haven't watched many of them because I just found out mostly that you do that. Twitch is not something that I've spent too much time on in general. There's a lot of other platforms and stuff I'm paying attention to, but I have watched through some of the videos, and I'll probably end up watching more in the future now that I know that they exist.
Mm.
I've seen like the length of the recorded videos, like 2 hours, 3 hours plus. Puzzling, while it is under the name speed puzzling, we do tend to go faster than the average person. It is not the it's not the most exhilarating thing to watch in real time because it's kind of hard to show how fast it's actually going when it takes 50 minutes or an hour to get through a puzzle. So how do you what are you doing on these streams that kind of keep people engaged with what's going on?
You saying you're not sure why it's interesting?
It's definitely
Sorry,
interesting.
I'm making you on a little bit. Sorry. I think what it is, I'm not really thinking about it in terms of providing content and entertainment. I'm thinking about it in terms of I'm hanging out online with my Twitch friends, and so I'm not. I think I have so much. There's so much other puzzling stuff going on that I'm not really planning it out. So for me, I really just hit go live. And then I'll be like, okay, what am I doing today? I don't plan out ahead of time as much as I could. Some of the other folks who stream are a little bit more prepared. They'll have their like preview images loaded, so when you go on the stream, you see the image of the puzzle they're doing. So I'm not thinking ahead of it too much. What I do a little bit is I kind of try to acknowledge the chat when I'm in between speed runs. And I'll talk a little bit about this is what my goal is for this run. I'm going to do a drill, or this is just a time trial. Or yeah, well, that's more now. I think some other things we've done in the off season, if you will, is sometimes when it's just casual puzzling and we're just hanging out on the weekend and I have a big piece count puzzle, we'll throw up some YouTube videos, usually puzzle content, and we'll have that on part of the screen and the camera with the puzzle on another part of the screen, and we'll be chatting. So we'll just be hanging out watching puzzle content. But there's been a lot less of that lately because there's a lot of stuff to practice for. So right now it's just speed puzzling. Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason I phrased the question that way is because I think a lot of people do like the community aspect of puzzling in general
Mm-hmm.
and may not realize that, well, speed puzzling, there's a heavy individual aspect to it. There is the community aspect, and we're seeing that a lot across Canada in particular because we're so spread out as a country. But we all tend to know other people in various provinces. There are things online that are growing here, whether it's through some organizations that are creating like bring your own puzzle events through Zoom. There's socials through the Canadian Jigsaw Puzzle Association, again done online. And I think this can potentially open a new stream, pun intended, to where people can go that's separate. It's not under a certain organization. It's just people on Twitch or whatever it might be, just kind of sitting there chatting, doing puzzles. Because if I was watching it, I'd probably be doing a puzzle as well while I was watching you do a puzzle, and I'm sure there's other people doing the same thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like where I sometimes just have it on in the background when I'm working and I'm doing something mindless and I can have like a second audio thing going on. I will puzzle in the background when I'm watching my friends stream and puzzle. And like I think it was last night, I was doing a rerun. I think it's called Ocean Treasures. It's one of the pairs qualifiers. And one of my fellow Twitch streamers was like, "Oh wait, I have that puzzle." So I waited for him to get set up, and I ran it. I was streaming. He streams, but he didn't happen to be streaming, and so we were trying to align our starts and just kind of racing each other a little bit. So that was fun. And Twitch has a feature called Stream Together, so you have friends. So it has happened that we have gone online and then kind of impromptu decided, oh, you're going to stream too. Okay, let's stream together. And it shares your video feed. So I can have my friend's video feed, somewhere on my screen, and she has my video somewhere on her screen. And we've raced the same puzzle a few times. So it's has that function to be collaborative, and then also just organize our kind of our own events, and you can participate in them, or you can just watch. Like you don't have to join a Zoom call or RSVP. You can just watch. So without having to commit to anything. So it's a little bit of a lightweight version of the Zoom calls. A little more chaotic, a little less organized, a little bit more, uh, you know, impromptu. But yeah, it's basically it's hanging out online, doing puzzles, as opposed to just. I mean, if I wasn't streaming, I'd just be by myself all that time. And so this is a way to do what I'd be doing anyway, but I get to kind of hang out with my friends while I'm doing it.
Yeah, and it's because especially if you're in a training mode right now for the various competitions coming up, the US uh, nationals are very soon. It probably actually quite close to when this is released. So yeah, it's you're doing it so often. And I was talking with someone yesterday where we're doing so many puzzles that you're just kind of left to your own thoughts a lot of the time. It can be isolating during that training bit. So I guess having some instances where, yeah, there's other people around is beneficial. If I'm doing 3 to 4 hours a day of puzzles, sometimes, not every day, but sometimes
Mhm.
in peak training time periods, there's a lot of time to sit and just think, and your mind wanders, and it can be distracting in different ways. So I think this is only beneficial to keeping the joy in the speed puzzling aspect.
And the mental part too, like being left to your own devices. I don't know about you, but I kind of go back my like same downtrodden neural pathways of distraction or whatever I'm dealing with. And then having the stream going, if I'm saying out loud, I'm sorting out the yellow, I'm sorting out the yellow. then I feel kind of like I have to actually go and grab the yellow. I can't just be like, ooh, here's a checkered pattern. No, because everyone's seeing me say I'm gonna go grab the yellow and then go grab the checkered. So like they're not actually, I don't think they actually care, but I feel like, oh, someone's watching me. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna be disciplined. I'm not gonna like give up towards the end because suddenly I got bored and I decided I was tired and I didn't want to finish speed running the puzzle. Like I'm on stream. I'm doing this in front of other people. I'm going to actually do it till the end and keep on pushing until I'm done. It's,
Yeah. I am not a live streamer type of person, but I did do my first live stream on International Puzzle Day, where I did a 24-hour marathon and streamed it all the way through for the most part. And at the beginning, I was like, I'm just gonna do the first puzzle 'cause that's when I'm the most energetic. I'm gonna do the first puzzle, get things underway, get a really good time so I can bank some time so I can reach my goal at the end. And after the first puzzle, I was thinking, I am not going to turn on my microphone because this is one, I don't know what to talk about for the next 23 and a half hours. And by the time it gets to the, I'm just going to be like, I'm going to be rambling because I'm not going to be coherent by the time I get to the end. And I knew there were people watching. I had the stream up beside me and I could see people logging in and leaving comments and stuff. But I was like, no, I can't talk like this. I think at some point in the future, but I don't know how people, um, yeah, it's very commendable for people that can multitask like that
just
and be able
just
to talk
ignore
about
chat. Just
it. Yeah.
ignore chat. But did you feel like it made a difference for you, knowing that you were live stream? Like, do you think it would have gone any differently for you? And by it, I mean the marathon. Do you think the marathon would have been different for you if you hadn't been live streaming it?
Um, I it would have been harder to motivate myself to finish because between the puzzles, I was able to kind of just like really glance through the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I would respond to certain comments if people were still there, or just leave a comment, whatever. But it was good motivation because there was encouraging comments going through there, and uh, that did help push through, especially in the later hours of it, or when it was like early morning hours, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and people from different time zones, like Australia was now watching, and now we're moving into parts of Europe, and it was fun watching the wave like go through the around the planet essentially, and then the Canadians
Mm-hmm.
woke up again and they were back on messaging, and I think that helped get through. I did
Mm-hmm.
the I did the marathon the year before, and there were times where it felt extremely isolating during the 24 hours because I wasn't live streaming. It was just me in a basement room doing puzzles for 24 hours. And I was like, this could get dark quick. Like this isn't this isn't ideal for a
Yeah.
mental health. Anything like, this is not good, which is why I kind of switched it up a little bit this year. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
that definitely helped.
Like, why
Um,
am I here at 2 a.m. by myself?
yeah, it's yeah, and it was just really briefly before we move on to something else. Like I said, I've skipped through a few of the um, streams that you have saved on there, but I laughed at one point. I saw you doing your Duolingo for the day, and I was like, I think it was German. I
I mean,
think
we're going to Munich,
that's what
so
my guess was, because that's exactly what I'm doing now on Duolingo. I did Spanish last year for the World Championships. It didn't help, except for like a few small words. I was like, oh, I know that one word, but yeah, I'm going through the German stuff as well. I don't think it's going to help by the time I get to May 1st, but
yeah, I
who
mean,
knows?
I don't think knowing how to say this is my father is going to be very helpful in that context. But I mean, at
Yeah,
least I'll be able to feel like it's a little bit more familiar. I'm trying. Yeah.
yeah.
And one more thing about the live stream, if anybody's checked it out too, one of my favorite highlights I have is Jim Eakin's Nerd Puzzle. He's a frequent chatter and Twitch family. He's a frequent Twitch audience. We had one call where he literally jumped into the call and I had him in my ears as I was doing the speed run. So it was like live training. It was so cool. And then everybody got to see that and we were all super motivated after that to practice our drills. So yeah, just if anyone wants to come in, I don't know if I'm the most fun speed puzzler to watch because like I said, I really ignore my chat while I'm speed puzzling. I'll come back to be like, yeah, we're hanging out, but I'm really locked into what I'm doing, or at least I'm trying to be. But there's some other folks who speed puzzle on Twitch who are a little bit better than I am at that. So like I mentioned Kyle Co or Hannah K Puzzle, if you know Hannah Doyle, she was second place at nationals last year in the US. She is like she's been throwing down like sub 30 first attempts. She got her first, I think it was a sub 28. I don't want to say sub 27. I think it was sub 28 on a first attempt live on Twitch. We were all so excited. Like the Twitch chat, we were all like all caps emojis. It was so exciting. We have some really fun moments. So if you want to come and just like lurk, you don't even have to make an account. It's really cool to see some of these really fast puzzlers just going at it. It's a really neat window into how they prepare and how they approach puzzles and how they flip and everything. So I love watching them puzzle.
Yeah, I can definitely see some of my somewhat limited time I have available that I'm not dedicating to puzzles now being dedicated to watching people do puzzles. So that's going to be fun. Even more puzzle stuff going on, but
More puzzle content.
yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm there's definitely not enough already out there. So I'll just add another thing on my list. That's
Mhm.
fine. That's fine. Plenty of time to spare. Uh, so like I mentioned, you don't do any puzzling in Canada at the moment. I don't believe you've had a competition under the Canadian Jigsaw Puzzle Association banner. Is that correct?
Not yet.
Not yet. Yes, but not yeah. So not yet. I in the future. We'll get to that in a sec. But before you do anything when it comes to the CJPA and their competitions, what are your links currently, I guess, to the Canadian puzzle scene?
Let's see. So when I started the puzzling, I don't know if CGPA existed in 2019 or 2020.
Not
Um,
really, no. Their first
yeah.
national was 2023. And they did a little bit before that, but I don't think 2019 there wasn't. I don't think I'm not part of them. Don't quote me on it, but I don't think so.
Yeah. So there wasn't really. I don't think I found anything when I was first starting to do the speed puzzling. It was through like speedpuzzling.com, which is American, and so I think I left. I moved to New York would have been like 2022, I believe. So it would have been before the CGPA stuff. But I've been like trying to look outside of the US. I've been interested in going to Canadian nationals for, a while. And so when I made the decision that I was going to go, I thought I should really meet people. And I've started to like see folks pop up in YouTube videos and like your content too is being like, oh, there's some really cool folks and some cool stories. So I started attending the Bring Your Own Puzzle meetups through CGPA, mostly to meet people to see if I
The
could find a team.
CSP
Sorry.
for those ones. The CSP for the Bring Your Own Puzzle. So separate from the Canadian Jigsaw Puzzle Association. Different. They are not associated. I want to make
They're not
that
associate.
very
Okay.
clear. They are separate. Yeah. So through the CSP, which I also attend those BYOPs as well, which are great.
Yeah. So it was, but mostly just to meet people. I thought would be fun. So the first few I did there was I had my copies of the Canadian Nationals puzzles, and so I'd been saving them, and I ripped my bags open for the first time at a Bring Your Own Puzzle event. So that was really fun. Yeah, and I'm attending nationals this year for the first time. Really excited. Actually puzzling with somebody else who used to live in New York and has since returned to Canada, and then two folks who I haven't met yet, but we met through the discussion group. And just I'm just excited. I don't have anything else to add to that. So
Yeah, it's gonna be different to see it's gonna be interesting to see the differences because you're doing the U.S. Nationals in March and then the Canadian Nationals in end of May. I have a feeling that they are quite different from each other in terms of size. The Canadian one is getting bigger, but it's not on the US scale at the moment because obviously it's a huge difference in population and everything else that goes along with it. But yeah, I'll be interested once it's done to see what you think about the differences between the two
Mm.
because you've done US nationals already
I did it, yeah, once.
last year.
So
And
mhm.
how was that?
It was really fun. Oh my goodness, it was really fun. I was kind of at the beginning of my ramping up on speed puzzling, so I had a very disappointing, kind of got close to qualifying for finals, but didn't. So I'm back with a vengeance and strong drive to like redeem myself this year. um, but yeah, it was really fun. It was really fun to meet like a lot of the people I'd been hanging out with online. The puzzles were tough. And it was interesting. It's going to be different this year because I think the USAGPA had planned on hosting nationals every other year. And so they had not been planning to host nationals last year, but Ravensburger reached out and hosted them at a gamer convention. So we had one room. It was a huge room. It was really well laid out where we had the competitions, and then we had a convention next door. So we went and looked at that, and that was pretty fun. But it was nice, uh, great event. But this year, oh my goodness, this year it's a whole puzzle convention, and so there are going to be artists and different puzzle brands and panels and the competition, and then Cobble Hill is doing a separate round, a separate like disjoint set of casual competitions that are like separate from nationals, and they're unveiling some new puzzles as well. So there's going to be a lot of stuff to do. A puzzle chess tournament as well, which I've signed up for. So a huge convention, but it's going to be puzzle centric. So very excited to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in Washington, DC last year. It's Atlanta this year.
Atlanta. Yep.
Atlanta, yeah. So I do like how it moves around a little bit as well. 2 years ago was somewhere in California. I forget which. Was it California?
San Diego, I believe. I'm
And
not sure. I
yeah,
might be
I
getting
think it
my
was
dates wrong.
I think
Mhm.
it was San Diego, which I think is nice. It does allow opportunity for people to that might not be able to travel. That being said, I really hope the Canadian one doesn't move because it's really close to where I live and it's ideal. I don't really want to fly out west or something like that, but I understand eventually if they have to move it. But yeah, that will be interesting. I think you're going to get to the Canadian one, and it's going to seem so much quieter just because it's not going to be anything like that.
As a counterpoint to that, though, I think a lot of people in the US, one of our favorite events is Winter Carnival in Minnesota. And part of the charm of that event is that after the competitions, we all go hang out in a hotel lobby together and just take over it and do puzzles. And it's a wonderful opportunity to just get to like chill and puzzle with a bunch of people. And that kind of charm, it's harder to replicate at the bigger events. So I think there's something to be said for these like smaller, more like intimate hangout events. And so I'm curious to see where the Canadian nationals fall in that spectrum, because the big convention's exciting for all the reasons previously stated, but the small events have their own kind of charm. Yeah,
Are
easier to
you
meet people. Hmm?
are you planning on attending the social event at Canadian Nationals the day before the competition starts?
I have not looked into that. Let me get back to you after I look it up.
So yeah, it actually takes place the evening before nationals on the Friday, and I think it's free entry, and you can sign up for that. For that, personally, I do not attend it just because my mind is heavily focused on the competition the next day. I want to be at home. I want to have my nice night's sleep and everything
Mhm.
else. That's the only reason I don't attend. But I know a lot of people do attend it, and they have activities. Like they had a puzzle chess tournament last year. I don't know what they're doing this year for it, but I know there's quite a few people that are going to that social evening the night before everything officially kicks off.
It sounds really fun, and it sounds like it might be tempting to stay up too late. So it sounds
I don't
dangerously
think it
fun.
goes very late, but yes, it's on the same page as the where you buy your tickets for nationals, so it's all the information's on there. I don't work for the CJPA. I don't know why I don't need to promote this stuff, but it's there.
Okay, I
Yeah, if
probably
you're
signed up
interested in this,
already. If it's on the page, I probably signed it up and forgot about it. But puzzle chess, yeah, sign me up again.
yeah. I'm not quite sure what they'll do this year. I've heard different things, but we'll see how that goes. You also do some virtual events as well. Do you find because you've done in person, you've done some of the big competitions in person in the US, and you do virtual live streaming. When you do a virtual competition, do you tend what's your mindset tend to lean more towards? Is it more towards, oh, I'm not I'm not doing Twitch right now, or is it leaning towards this is definitely a competition. I need to ignore the Zoom call or whatever it is that I'm on.
Well, actually, I live stream the competitions, the virtual
And that
competitions.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I have my video source on my external piece on my software, and then I take that video feed and I stream it to the competition, and I stream it to Twitch. So it's kind of a fun stream. So to your point, I've done some of the online competitions like the EJJs. I have gone live at like 3:30 a.m. in the morning to do these online competitions in Europe. And I am surprised when some of my West Coast friends, for whom it's like definitely past midnight and they should be in bed, when they're all in my chat, like, don't you have work tomorrow? Oh, no, I do it on Sundays. Never mind. Yeah, but I'm like, shouldn't you be asleep right now? So yeah, but the competitions do feel real. I think the ones that I was the most stressed about were a series of speedpuzzling.coms that contributed to your official JPAR ranking, which is the US jigsaw puzzler ranking system. So there were a series of online ones. I don't think they're doing them this year, but so those felt really high stakes. And so I was streaming, but I was really focused on trying to puzzle the so I've done a bunch of speedpuzzling.coms. The EJJs, the Euro Jigsaw Jam puzzle competitions based out of Europe. That's why they're at 4 a.m. Those have been really fun, and I think it's tough because I went into them trying to be really focused, but I think that the caliber of puzzles or the difficulty of the EJJ puzzles is definitely a step up from the difficulty of the speedpuzzling.com puzzle choices. I think it's partly, who's curating the collection, and maybe that I'm less familiar with these like landscape photography images that we've done sometimes, but it's been a bit difficult on those, and so I do find myself kind of running out of steam a little, and then maybe trying to casual it up a little with the EJJs. I want to try to take them more seriously. But yeah, it's they're different. I think what makes it difficult or what makes it higher stakes for me is when it's like ranking or there's a chance of qualifying. The online jigsaw puzzles are a bit more relaxed in that sense. You don't have that consequence if you perform poorly. And then the EJJs, like I said, tougher images, but then it's also just cool to be in the same Zoom call as folks who've won like or podiumed at world championships. And we did this I did this what was called double trouble or something like that. It was a EJJ where you did two 500s back to back, and I am finishing my first puzzle right as Victor from Poland is about to wrap up his second puzzle. And like, I'm not super fast, I'm not the slowest either, so that was really impressive to be in a call with folks who were finishing with those times. It was
Yeah,
cool.
when it comes to people as fast as Victor and a few others that are on those calls, it's for my own puzzle sanity, I can't compare myself to those individuals because I'm not going to be or ever going to be at that level. In a perfect world, yes. And sometimes puzzles just come together in the perfect way. But no, it's if I finish a puzzle in 40 minutes, I'm assuming that certain people would have finished this in 25 minutes. Like it's okay. It's um
Yeah. But it's
yeah,
so cool to be on the call with them though.
it is. Definitely is.
Yeah.
Do you find that because you're live streaming these puzzles, when you're at a in-person competition, especially if you're at one where there's camera people running around and you're on either the live streams or you're on the a jumbotron or something in the location, do you find that that camera sitting or standing right beside you and you know it's focused on you and you know you're on a big screen right now, do you find it doesn't really bother you with that additional pressure?
I wish. No, because when I'm streaming at home, I'm in my room, I'm comfortable. Sometimes I'm wearing pajama pants. I feel really at home with my streaming setup. Um, and I don't feel that at home, that level of comfort in like these big competitions in
Fair.
person. Mhm.
Yeah, because every time, yeah, like if a judge wanders over to mark down my time, because they think that I'm getting close, and in reality, I know I'm probably not. I've left the hard stuff to the end, so I know it's only 50 pieces, but these are the toughest of the 50 pieces, so it's not going to go by as quickly as they think, and that extra pressure of someone staring at me, sometimes it can make me a bit nervous. The pieces never seem to go in quite as easily,
Yeah.
for some reason. But yeah, I was wondering if that might help because I'm trying to think of ways to like add to my training where yeah, if someone's staring at me for those last few pieces, is there a way I can practice that? And things like streaming, maybe, but I don't think it's quite the same.
It's not, yeah, you're right that I think it might help a little bit, but in terms of what might help with that, I know that when I started streaming, uh, it felt more high stakes, and I have gotten more comfortable with it as time's gone by. And the first time I joined a BYOP, I thought, oh, all these people I don't know, I'd better do well. And now it's been what, like a half dozen times that I've joined, I think, and I'm feeling a lot more comfortable. So maybe it's exposure, but I guess we don't have a lot of opportunities to practice this high stakes camera person in your face, someone ready to take down your time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do use the BYOPs kind of for that purpose. I used to
Mhm.
only do like one puzzle and I would sit and I'd watch the other people do finish off theirs. Now I'll try to do two puzzles in that 2 hour time frame, knowing that by the time I get closer to the end of my second one, a lot of people will now be just watching the screen. And
Mhm.
if I keep reminding myself that's the case, where there are 5, 10, 15 sets of eyes watching me, and the other people that are still going, then it's a good way to kind of get over that stage fright
Mm.
thing.
And sometimes folks are even commentating on the call. So
Yeah,
you'll get commentary.
I don't know which CSP organizers will watch this. I mute them so I don't listen. Uh, I usually don't. Sometimes they'll be very faint in the background. There was one time I was doing, I was going to put on here the puzzled pipe faces. I was I did not find it that easy to get through, but I was going through at a pretty good. Yep, that's the one.
I have it.
It's not as clear as that box shows at all. They were I was doing that one and my music stopped right as I heard them start to say something about me. So I put my music down, I turned up the Zoom volume so I could listen. I was like, oh, I wonder what they're saying. And they were talking about Devin Donaldson's first time doing the puzzle and all the other times of first attempts that some top Canadian puzzlers have done. And I looked at my time, I was like, oh, I'm right there. I could beat Devin's first time on this puzzle. And as soon as I heard them just keep talking, my attention went in a completely different direction, and I stumbled through the last 5 minutes, and I finished further down than I probably should have. So from that was the last time I ever
paid any attention, and now it's again, sorry, I can't have the um commentary going, but they are very good at it. I will give them
Yeah,
that.
it's great to watch it back, but yeah, at the moment that was it sounds like a self-sabotage moment.
It,
Yeah.
or maybe they knew when they were trying to sabotage me. Maybe that was really what was going on. You know?
That
Devin
sounds
didn't want me
like
to beat the
cool.
time, so she was like, "We'll just talk about him and see if it slows him down."
Oh
I'll
man.
pretend. I'm
Yeah.
sure that's not what they did. Um, you you did mention one thing in there where if there's something on the line, it can make a bit of a difference on how focused you might be and such. And that kind of brings us to the like a ranking system. You are involved with the US Jigsaw Puzzle Association, and you are part of developing or redoing the current ranking system.
Yeah, so I'm the team lead for the JPAR team. And so we're involved in helping improve processes around JPAR calculation and updates in a few different places. One of them is, yeah, so the US has this legacy system that was developed by Tammy McLeod, another wonderful human, makes great puzzle content.
World record holder.
World record holder of multiple world records,
Yeah.
fashionista of the in the puzzle sense. Yeah, you could go on. She's great. But she did the first pass of the development of a ranking system for the US and solved a lot of problems that are specific to puzzle competitions on this first pass. Like for a first pass, it's a very elegant solution. But over time, as the USA JPA membership has grown and we have more data, we've noticed that some of the trade-offs that are made, like any ranking system has trade-offs. Like it's a way of taking something that's kind of up in the sky and grounding it numerically, and decisions are made on details, and that comes with trade-offs. So there's some things it does very well, and there's some things that it doesn't do as well as it could, and the balance of those is just because of the choice of ranking system we used. So we're working through understanding what some of the strengths of the current JPAR algorithm are and where the weaknesses are. And part of why we've been able to do that is because it used to be a calculation system that was heavily reliant on like some scripts running on Google Sheets, which was fine in the beginning, but it was very labor intensive to perform. It took like hours, and it was a lot of volunteer work. And the folks who are volunteers for the association are already doing so much. So what we've done is we've turned that process with Google Scripts and spreadsheets into like some actual scripts that we can run. We clean the data, we run the scripts, and now instead of it taking like 8 hours to recalculate the JPAR for the membership, it takes however long it takes us to clean the data, and then we run the thing and it's like a matter of like a second. So that has allowed us to build like synthetic data, say hypothetical scenarios with performance shifts, and like have a much better understanding of the algorithm. And there have been complaints about, and like very legitimate complaints about, some of the things that JPAR does well, and or actually no, not about what goes well, but about some of the things, some of
It's
the
too
odd
good.
things that happen. Yeah, no, we're so right now what we're doing is like seeing how we can improve the system so that it can what are the strengths that we can keep and what are the weaknesses that we can improve on, and being kind of a little bit, we're in the exploratory phases of that, but there's already some like really interesting stuff that we've discovered. And yeah, we're thinking, we're ideating on solutions, and kind of trying to understand some of like the more quirky things that we've found in our data set. Yeah.
Are there, I know what you can and cannot discuss, obviously, is in there. Are there certain things that you can mention where there was something where it was like, we need to kind of make sure we either ignore that or change it or anything that you can mention? If you can't, absolutely fine.
Yeah, I think I'll try to like, I'm gonna try to go just with some of the phenomena that we understand a little bit better, but there is stuff that we we want to be careful in communicating this out. one of the things that we found really interesting is actually, you know what? Let me pause. I'm ready to talk about this, but I should probably give myself a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some issues with like drift in ranking, depending on like what we use as our first event. We calculate this over a rolling window, and the first event matters. And so that's something that we've been looking into a little bit. And there's also kind of, like I mentioned, like a drift that happens depending on your choice of your first event. And I
Okay.
think this is something that happens with like video games. If you've played video games, you'll often have rank resets at the beginning of seasons. And now I'm wondering, are these video games having the same drift issue that we're having? I think it's very likely. And then Ali from the USA JPA the other day, I'm sure she won't mind me sharing this. She sent me a screenshot of a graph and said, "Hey, this looks an awful lot like the drift in the JPAR ranking." And I'm like, yeah, I think it looks a lot like the draft in the JPAR ranking. So there's like phenomena here that we're seeing replicated through the ranking. Um, and then some of it's like the more human aspects regarding fairness. So currently the JPAR weights your last event as half of the contribution to your current rank. So you have a JPAR rank, and then you compete. And the way we calculate your fresh JPAR after that new competition is we average your event JPAR with your historical JPAR. And that does a few things. Like there's some positives. So if you're improving, and if you've improved since your last participation, then your JPAR is going to really quickly reflect that you've improved. But at the same time, you might have had a series of historically strong competitions and had a really off day at your last competition. And like you can accommodate for one scenario but not the other, depending on what the trade-off you make is there. Like say, like right now, the person who has a very bad one-off day, and that happens to be the last cutoff for our window for the JPAR calculation, your next JPAR ranking is going to go down a whole bunch. But if we instead said, okay, let's try to be fair to that person whose JPAR ranking might go down because they had a really off day, then that person who's been improving and then who has a gap, and then, they're not going to have their JPAR going up to reflect their improvement. So it's a series of, those are the things that are more trade-offs. So we've like simulated a bunch of different ways of like weighting events and stuff. But there's a human component in that as well that we have to be careful of.
Yeah, and the weighting each event, I think the reason I'm asking this is interesting is because Canada has their ranking system now, which is less than a year old, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm we're kind of aware of what's taken into account with it. It is hard to kind of really understand how the numbers change over time because like I'll have a result and my ranking will change a certain amount while someone else will have maybe a worse result, but their ranking goes up more than what. And it's just because obviously I don't know what the math is. I've tried to um, reverse engineer it by looking at all the changes. It's next to impossible to be able to do that. Or you'll have someone that doesn't compete at all and their ranking will still change, which that one confuses me the most. They might go up, they might go down, but they didn't participate. I don't know if that happens with the JPAR
It
as
does,
well.
yeah.
Is there a reason for that? Like I do like statistics. I've done research papers and stuff like that that include statistics, but that's not my area of expertise. Is there a reason why that might occur?
Yeah, I'll try to go through this. I'll do a bunch of hand waving, and just please stop me if at any point anything becomes a little unclear. Yeah. So my understanding, of very high level understanding of the Canadian ranking, is that similarly to the US, you have a notion of like a difficulty of an event. Uh, I think the Canadian system, like again, not very familiar, but I think you do it through like a discrete score, like a 1, 2, or 3. I might be completely off on that. Um, uh, and in the US, we do it through like a event difficulty estimate. So every event, um, we use previous JPARs to do an estimate, previous JPARs and those competitors' competition times to do an estimate of how difficult the puzzle is. Because like when you think about it, the difficulty of a puzzle event, you can't just do something like look at completion time, because some puzzles are way faster than others. Like there's that Ravensburger Pixar gradient
The Disney
puzzle.
Pixar, yeah.
Everybody PB'd on that one. That was, and then at the EJJ, we just had one designed by our friend and fellow Twitch streamer, Jessica Henderson. Everybody PB'd on that puzzle. I just had to slip that in. Jessica's great.
I love that puzzle. I really want to try that one.
Yeah. And then there are other puzzles like that typefaces one or rabbit recital. Like you can't, they're not, it's not comparing apples to apples, right? So you might go like, oh, okay, let me compare ranking instead. But then you have another problem, like if a 10th place at like a local event where it's mostly local participants is not the same as a 10th place at like Canadian nationals finals, right? You can't compare them. And then there's the puzzle component. So you need to introduce like these theoretical difficulty estimates somehow. And I think this is one of the things that, from my understanding, the Canadian ranking system has done well to address, and that the original JPAR algorithm did very well. So you look at people's incoming JPAR, which JPAR is how you do as a ratio relative to the average population time. So you're saying your average puzzle will finish this puzzle in 1 hour. And everybody who participates who has an incoming JPAR, you use that data point plus their actual finish time, and everybody contributes like, this is around how fast we expect an average puzzler to finish this puzzle. And then we aggregate all those estimates and we define an event theoretical difficulty level based on the time. And then that's what we use to base mark everybody's JPAR going forward for that event. So you kind of are involved with the algorithm. Your puzzle time contributes twice. First to this event theoretical difficulty average estimate, and then second, once that's been established, go back and now calculate your own performance based on that theoretical difficulty estimate. Super elegant solution. It is unfortunately, a little bit sensitive to what event you choose as your first event. Because if we're kind of using our first event as like a sample of the population, you have the same problem. You can't use like a finals event for like, this is a sample of your average puzzler population, because it's your fastest 20, 30, 40%, depending on how many qualifier rounds you have. And then I think the correction is possibly part of that drift. And so now back to your question, why do some people's scores change over time? Well,
without competing.
Yeah. So we have these theoretical averages or theoretical event difficulty estimates, right? Except, like I said, that window shifting changes your overall JPAR distribution over time for the population. And we're having this phenomenon now where if we shift that window and recalculate all of the JPAR, because of this drift that's happening, I need a slide deck to explain this. Oh my goodness. But basically,
I'm following it. We're good.
Yeah. So if I compete in this event here, and then I move my calculation window and that event is still in the window, I'm using a different first event to calculate this, and that difference kind of trickles through all of the event difficulty estimates. So it could be that if you participate in an event and it's at the beginning of the, or at the very, what would it be? Yeah, if you participate in an event and it's at this part of the event window, and then the event window shifts and now it's still in the event window, but it's a different place, you're starting with a different starting event. And so the event difficulty estimate for that event someone participated in can be different between calculated runs of the total score. So and it's an issue. Mm-hmm.
The USJPA, your window is a year, correct? Where it's like, it's within it was, I don't know if it still is, but it was the last 12 months. It takes into consideration.
If like plus minus epsilon, because we're trying to be more careful about the sensitivity of like what events kind of get included. So it'll be in a year, but we might kind of like just, finagle the ends a bit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure with Canada, some events are worth a little, like our nationals might be weighted a bit more because you have, especially if there's a finals at the Canadian Nationals, there's your best of the people at the event, there's your best 40 or 50 or 60, however many people are in that finals might make a difference. And it'll be similar with potentially similar with the US Nationals. The final round, US has a lot of very, 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 very fast puzzlers, and
Yep.
a lot of them will be at nationals, if not all of them will be at nationals. And yeah, that's going to be a harder round to get out of than it
Yeah.
would be for uh, your ordinary qualifying round or speed puzzle dot the speedpuzzling.com stuff. So yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, four qualifier rounds, and then the final is the same size as the qualifier round. So you have to be top 25 fastest, top 25% in each round to qualify. So definitely not a sample of the average puzzler population.
Yeah,
Oh,
not
yeah. Sorry, if I can add one more thing about JPAR, we had to include the World Championships qualifier rounds that had the two puzzles. We just threw those out because we had the two different puzzles. The qualifier round, right? You had the two puzzles and you had to choose from
I
one of them.
remember. Yep,
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry to remind you. It sounds so stressful. It sounds fun, but maybe it sounds stressful too.
It
Um,
won't be back this year, so we're happy about that. But it will still be in the pairs round, but that's different. It's yeah, it's out of the individual round. As far as we know, the world's championships, they change their decisions all
mm,
the time. So things between now and September could easily change and we see it show up again.
yeah.
So so you've just dropped those rounds altogether in your calculation?
Because how we at that point we didn't know who had which puzzle. It wasn't easily, and we didn't. It didn't seem fair to compare people as though they were using the same puzzle. That was one of our fundamental things that we're adjusting for in this event difficulty estimate. So that broke. But from a data lens perspective, then sounds like we might be able to include the qualifier rounds for World Series for next year. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So you the JPAR um JPAR is Jigsaw Puzzle Association ranking, correct?
I believe so, or rating. But
Oh,
yeah, it's yeah.
something like that.
And
Yeah. So you're taking into account even non-US based events. You're looking at world events with like a lot of Americans taking place in them. Like if only 5 Americans took place in a qualifying round at Worlds, would that still count?
yes, so we have a series. So the USAJPA has a set of standards, and for an event to qualify as a JPAR sanctioned event, it needs to meet a set of requirements and also have a minimum number of US participants. We can't, like, if there's a competition and it meets all standards, but one person competed, that's not really helpful, or two people, it's too noisy. So we do have a minimum number of participants. So we use, I'm sorry, can you hear my neighbor vacuuming?
No, no, you're
Okay,
good.
great. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, so if you let's see, yeah, so the rounds at Worlds qualified, and in the US it's either a USAJPA official event or it's an event that's been sanctioned by the board. And so events are now applying to become sanctioned events, and we have just had our first few sanctioned events included in the ranking that are not from speedpuzzling.com or not USAJPA events and not state championships. So I think there's some folks out of, I think it's Boston, who are hosting events, or Chicago, and also California, the Orange County, the folks who are putting on the puzzle marathons, they've also gone through the sanctioned event approval process. And so they're hosting sanctioned events as well now.
Okay, I do like that because it opens up more opportunities. I don't, again, I'm not 100% sure what the Canadian one does. I'm pretty sure it's only Canadian, the association events that
Mhm.
currently qualify for that. But like I'm even looking at like the World Championships final round from 2025. There's 17 USA competitors that have USA as their home country listed on
Mhm.
there. So would even that's about 10% of the total people in that round. Would that be taken into consideration? Because that's the top puzzlers in the world, eventually, essentially. That's not all of them, but a lot of them
Yeah.
in that round.
Well, that helps them reshuffle amongst themselves. So they're updating their JPAR in particular. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's very interesting. I know stats aren't super interesting for people. But once you start seeing how things move around, for those who may not be as into statistics and such as some people, and they might have more difficulty understanding the movement and stuff. Based on your knowledge of the current system or what it's going to be, what do you have any advice for people that want to try to move up in those rankings, other than just saying be faster type of thing?
Well, that's the
Not the
whole
easiest.
yeah, that's the whole improvement part. I'd say actually I'd like take a step back from that and answer a different question if I may. I'd be like, um, I think about like what the goal of a ranking system is important. Like we want a ranking system that will be informative and helpful. And why would you even want to know how you compare against other people too, right? I think there's some use cases for it, like very me in particular. I'm kind of on the edge of where sometimes I'm like, am I going to qualify for this final? Like that's a fine use. It's just data to back it up. But I'd also take the ranking systems with a grain of salt because we all have off days, and maybe on average it'll give you like some information of your average of what your performance is. But especially with the ranking systems, there's so many people who are really close together that you might have like a 10-20 place swing and you're like 3 decimal points off of each other. You're like relatively close. You're close enough that even though you're really a little bit far in the ranking, you're probably really similar in skill level. So I try to like take a step back and not think about the JPAR or your ranking as like the end all be all, and instead think about it as a tool towards improvement. Like you can use it to find who your peers are. You can use it to kind of like look back on your performance and see like, am I beating? I think I saw you had a video about this. Like, who's my buddy that I'm trying to beat that they don't know that I'm
your
trying to beat?
rival.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
your
your
puzzle
rival,
rival.
your puzzle rival, your friendly puzzle rival. We should caveat. Yeah. So I think that's something that those tools can be useful for. Yeah, and I don't know. And the rankings are so fickle as well. Like everybody's getting faster for starters. And like maybe you're not gonna see your ranking go up, but you're improving, and it's just everybody's improving. And then your takeaway there is I'm improving at about a normal rate. So that's good. It still means you're improving. So if that's your goal, maybe it's not. So
Yeah, it is tough. Do you know off the top, this will be my last question for this. Do you know off the top of your head ish how many people are in the ranking system for the JPAR?
I
I was
think
putting you on the spot there, but I'm just curious. I know what the Canadian one is. I'm just trying to see what the difference in numbers is between the two countries.
I want to say I'd have to look at it more carefully, but I'd say like maybe 1,300-ish. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a lot higher than ours.
But a lot of those folks have like one participation. Like if you look at if you sorry, we're gonna math for a second. If you do a plot and on the x-axis you have the number of competitions that people have participated. Sorry, if you have on your y-axis the number of participations that people have, it's going to be a very oh wait, I said that wrong. I said that wrong on the x-axis. It's a very skewed curve is what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is it's a skewed curve. Most people have done one competition. Usually it's nationals. That's a really big event. And then we have a few people at the very top who've participated in more sanctioned events than anybody else. I think let's see, Jonathan Clough, who organizes speedpuzzling.com, he does all his own puzzles. It's incredible. But then that means he's got a lot of participations. I'm up there a little bit because I've been like hopping around to all the competitions. And then our friends Kinsey Keltz and Melinda Owens. Kinsey, another Twitch streamer. She's a friend. That's why. Hi, Kinsey. Sorry, this is a theme, isn't it?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Drop as many names as you want to. That's
okay. So yeah, go watch Kinsey on Twitch. She and Melinda did this thing where they flew around all year 2025 and tried to do as many state championships as possible. Those are all sanctioned events. I think she and Melinda are like pretty much at the top of the leaderboard for participations in a sanctioned event for 2025, which is kind of cool. So she's got a lot of data for her and her pair.
I am curious because for the Canadian one, to qualify for the rankings, you have to have 5 events in the last 2 years
Hmm.
to be on it. So you just can't do one event then disappear
Yeah.
and come back because that's similar to the U.S. Nationals is a big one. We'll have people that show up, don't see them again for a year, then they
Hmm.
reappear. One major example for Canada would be our back-to-back champion Megan Slocum,
Yeah.
who has never lost a round at Canadian Nationals. She's won both qualifiers and both finals. So 4 for 4, first place. Clearly, pretty much the best that we have to offer. But she only
Hmm.
had four events, so she didn't qualify. So the ranking system didn't include theoretically our best puzzler. Since then, she has done one more event, so she's on the rankings now, obviously at number one. But within the next month, I would think, depending on what she does, Irina, who has had a episode on here as well, currently lives in the States too. I believe, I looked at it today, the ranking systems for the JPAR, and she's in the top 5. I think she was third, currently. She hasn't lost a Canadian Jigsaw Puzzle Association event. She's 4 for 4 in first places. She all virtual. There's a chance a Canadian may be the top of both ranking systems in the near future, or at least very near the top. And I
Hmm.
would absolutely love to see a Canadian at the top of the US rankings. That'd be nice to see.
Yeah, Irina is so fast. It's really great.
Yes.
And her speed runs. Oh my goodness. It's been really cool to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just curious to see. I know she's attending nationals at the very least, so
Hmm.
by May she will be on the ranking system. But if I'm sure she'll do one more virtual before then. But yeah, I think that's just a nice little fun bit to see if there's a Canadian at the top of both of those. So
Mm.
yeah, we'll see. Speaking of international competitions and people flying, you're coming to Canada for that one. You mentioned a few other competitions you're journeying around for in the States, but you were also attending your first, as far as I know, your first international competition this year with the World Series, not the World Championship, the
Yeah.
World Series, which is an inaugural event. I've mentioned it many times on this channel already. There's a whole series I do on that. Go check that out if you have. In the build up to this exciting thing. What made you decide to attend the World Series, the Speed Puzzling World Series in May in Germany?
All my friends were going.
That's a good motivator. Peer pressure is a
Yeah.
real thing in the puzzle community.
Yeah, I'll say part of it was I wasn't able to go to World Championships. Bad timing. And World Series, I was a little bit on the fence because I'm not, for me, 75 minutes, like on all these speedpuzzling.coms, I'm okay with like I'm usually orbiting pretty close to the hour or a little faster than that on an easier puzzle. But for the EJJs, I've been hitting 75 and plus. So I was worried. They have that warning on the website. Just take into consideration what your times are. And I took it into consideration at first, and I thought, I don't think that's for me. But one of my friends said, well, if they wanted to gate it off, like they're telling you that so that you know to be okay with it, if and to know what you're signing up for and to make your own decision. If they didn't want to let people of your speed in, they would have had some more strict qualification. And so everybody had started signing up. Like I think like a good percentage of the U.S. contingent are Twitch puzzlers, and they were all sharing about it. And I kind of went, oh, everyone's gonna be there. My friend is right. I want to go. I want to go and hang out with everybody. And plus, my sister, I have a sister who lives in the UK, and I don't get to see her very often. So I'm gonna go and hang out with her like for a little over a week leading up to World Series, and just it's a good combination of stuff, and so it's gonna be a good trip.
Yeah,
Mhm.
are there yeah, I went back and forth a little bit and then peer pressure kind of kicked in. Not because I know anyone directly. Like I I've met Irina and I've met Cameron, two of the Canadians, two of the
Mhm.
five Canadians that are going. But Cameron lives in France. He has an episode on here as well. Irina lives in the States, similar to yourself. You're in the States. There is a fifth individual who I don't know at all.
I tried to Google her. I couldn't find anything.
I think I found the individual who it is. I don't know how much they want mentioned about them, so that's why I'm not saying their
Yeah.
their name on here. But um, I'm pretty sure I think they do live in Canada. If I've found the right person, they've also
Mm.
signed up for the World Championships in Spain in September,
Hmm.
and it did the information matched between because you can see location and stuff. So I think I know who the person is, but uh, there's only five Canadians at the moment on there. One definitely that lives in Canada, which is myself, maybe two. But yeah, the US has like I'm trying to count really quickly on the website in front of me here. There's like 30 plus Americans that are going. A lot of
Hmm.
them did not attend, not miss, but did not attend the World Championship last year for various reasons and such. But yeah, there's going to be a huge US contingent along with the Germans who always
Hmm.
show up big as well. Do you have expectations for yourself at this competition?
I, yeah, I'm trying really, really hard to detach from the completing the puzzle goal because, as I mentioned, on the European puzzles, I'm sometimes creeping up past that 75-minute mark. So I've been really focused on process. So I want to be able to go in and feel like I did a good job. I want to be able to go in and be like, I did the things I've been practicing. I didn't just fumble around and like freak out and not commit to any pieces or any pulls and assemblies. So yeah, I'm trying to keep my goals more focused around process and feeling like I did what I practiced.
That's I think that's a good way of going into it. I'm nervous because the Canadian Nationals isn't until the end of May, so it's after this takes place. Essentially, my next big competition is the World Series.
Yeah.
I have I have two general virtuals with the CJPA coming up, and then I have one special event like the Canadian Invitational. It's the
Mm-hmm.
first one, so the 10 people in Canada were invited to do it. Again, it's a CJPA event, but it's all virtual, and that's not where virtual is virtual, but the first next in-person big competition I have is going to be this, and I am very nervous for that. That kicks off
Mm-hmm.
really my puzzle season, and is there, we know there's 6 rounds in there. Is there a specific round that you are excited for? I'll start with that one.
Good. I thought you were going to go with the other
I
counterpoint to
will
that
be,
question.
but
Oh
that will
man.
come.
I'll say I'm excited about the unbox. I'm scared a little bit about the unbox, but I have started practicing so for reference, the context is there's one round where they've said we're not going to be given a reference image, not even like you see it and then we take it away, but you don't get to see what it is at all. And I found it kind of fun to do that. I know folks who grew up puzzling kind of sometimes have that mindset, oh, using the image is cheating. I hadn't done it, and it's kind of fun. It's really fun. I don't know how I'm gonna do on it. I've had mixed results with my few practice puzzles, but yeah, I still have to figure out what success looks like in that kind of solve. But yeah, that was gonna be exciting.
For me, as I'm practicing that as well, and thank you to everyone that's been giving me puzzles without the box images. It's because I don't want to keep buying puzzles, and it's very hard to get puzzles without knowing what the image is. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been getting a few. People can keep sending me them; they're great. But I think I started with the time limit of just be under 75 minutes. That's my first goal above everything else is to be under the 75 minutes so I don't get the time penalties added on. Uh, and then as I keep doing them, I whatever. So if I was at 65 minutes for one of them, my goal for the next one is to beat the 65, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't always the case because the next one might be harder. I've seen the box that I have a bunch of puzzles, and there are a few in there that are large piece puzzles, and I'm
Mhm.
really hoping that doesn't show up. I don't think it will, but I'm really hoping it doesn't. Those are always slower for me. If it's a
Yeah.
random cut, that's going to be slower, and we don't know if it's going to be random cut or not because we don't know the brand either. So
Yeah.
there's so much to take into consideration. I think that's the round I'm most nervous for is that one. I don't think it's going to be my worst round. I think repetition will be my worst round.
Oh, yeah, that's such a open question though. What does repetition even
I
mean?
know. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, two follow-ups on that. First is the random cut. For Winter Carnival, we've been doing a lot of Winter Carnival is this competition that's hosted by a brand called Puzzle Twist. It's really
Yeah.
fun image. The image on the box is different from the image on the puzzle. It's a twist, super fun. But they have the same cut, or they used to have the same cut as Cobble Hills. And so leading up to Winter Carnival, a lot of us would be practicing Cobble Hills. So I feel really comfortable with random cut and big piece. Like I know what the unknowns are. Like I know that my flip time is like 30 to 40 seconds slower on a Cobble Hill than it is for a Ravensburger standard cut, right? And I know the whole thing about space management with a Cobble Hill on a regimented, like on a official competition sized spot solving space, like that's a thing you have to prep for. So when I listened to your episode interviewing Melissa Townsend and you asked her, is your favorite cut random or ribbon? And she said ribbon. I thought, dang it, it's not going to be a Cobble Hill or a random cut, because I thought that would be really cool. And I think that's an advantage we'd have, is that we've like thought a bit more about the whole space management issues with random cuts and dealing with those really funky piece shapes. So
Keep, keeping in mind, it might be her favorite, but she is not competing. She is organizing, and that could be a curveball that she might think a lot of people are not expecting. Similar to, like I've mentioned it before with the gradient. When we think of gradients, we think of rainbow puzzles and going
mm-hmm.
from across the spectrum, that's how it is. But it could just be one solid color of blue, going from light blue to dark blue, or gray, gray into black. And gradients are not necessarily all nice and colorful. There are some ugly gradients out there and tough gradients as well. So we can prepare all we want for these events, but we don't know. And because Melissa it has put her input into this, and I'm going to assume that the under individual, Dr. Louise Jacket, is also part of it, picking these puzzles. They are very good speed puzzlers. They know what images will take a certain amount of time and what's going to be challenging enough that it's interesting, but not so easy that people are flying through these and setting records like a New York postcard situation.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is there's still hope that there
Oh,
might
there's
be a Cobble
definitely
Hill.
still, well, hope for you, care for some of us. It really depends on your point of view when it comes to that. Is there um a round that you are nervous for though?
Yeah, that great. That's okay. I'm trying to be in the mindset of all puzzles are great. All puzzles are great, but yeah, the gradients. And I swear I'm not making this up. I did a local competition with my sister, a different sister than the one who lives in the UK. She was visiting me and we did a local puzzle competition, and it was a gradient heavy puzzle, and she doesn't puzzle very much. She went to Mexican nationals, which is kind of fun. But she doesn't puzzle very much, and like half of the puzzle was sky, and it was a subtle shade between blues, and I could not see any of it, and we were just stuck. And so what we did was she would sort them out, and I'd be like, oh, boom, 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 boom. She couldn't place them, and I couldn't do the pulls at all. I really couldn't tell. And so in my indecision and like coping, they call it, I did one of these what's it called, it was a gradient perception online test, because I thought surely I'm making this up. I just have a mental block. I'm sure it's like a mental thing. I've decided it's difficult and I don't see gradients, and so and I scored not perfect. I said I had an issue with like the blue green hue, which is what was the issue with that puzzle I did with my sister. Like, so I should be trying to like unlearn and convince myself it's all in my head, but I keep finding data points that are telling me you're right to be worried about this. It's not helpful. I really need to stop doing this. So,
I have heard a couple stories of people that have discovered that they're colorblind while getting into puzzling and not really realizing it. It's usually like shades like that, or like for a lot of guys, it's red green color
mhm.
blindness is it's quite popular in there. Every time I hear the color blindness, I think of that scene from New Girl. I don't know if you're familiar with the TV show, but there's a character on there, Winston, who loves doing puzzles. He sings like a puzzle song while he's doing it. And it turns out he's colorblind and he's absolutely terrible at puzzles. And he doesn't know any of the colors, and it's very, very funny. But yeah, I hear these stories of people discovering that there's a color perception that they're not aware of until, yeah, you just maybe do gradient puzzles.
Yeah, maybe I will develop my piece shape abilities to the point where it doesn't even matter. I
Yeah,
don't
because
know.
we know it's Ravensburger, so just memorize the cut and you're nice and easy.
Oh man, I've tried studying some of these things. There's a diagonal on the Ravensburger cut that has like, what is it? I counted it it has like 13 three outs and one in. It's like a single gradient that goes out from one corner, and it's like not three, not three, 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 not three, not three, like something like I'm making it up. But then I thought,
There's
oh, let's see if I can use that in a competition. No, you can't because it's like so slow to try to think about piece cut when there's other information that's so quick to recognize other than that. But maybe yeah, that's my opinion on that. But it's kind of fun to think about.
depending on the puzzle though, because I'm thinking of the world's semifinal puzzle from last year, the Paris puzzle that had the stripes of colors in
Mm,
there, and people struggled with it. And it was confirmed that that does not count as a gradient puzzle, so we will not see something like that at the World Series. That's specifically what Melissa said. She does not consider that a gradient because it's clear lines through them.
I'd consider
Gradients
that
have to
like,
flow.
mhm,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
but if you're struggling on that and you knew there was and the diagonal of those three pieces just happened to line up with one of those lines, I guarantee that there's going to be some people that may be looking for that line after they watch this. This won't come out for a few weeks, so it's going to give me about a month head start to find what that is, and I will. I know people will look for it because I plan on looking for that immediately after this call ends, and I will try to find where that diagonal is because I am trying to memorize some of those pieces and or sections in case a scenario like Walk in the Rain shows up again at Canadian Nationals where it's a blob of pink nightmare in a corner. Um, and any little bits of information can help to get through those grind aspects.
Yeah, I recorded a video, a couple of clips of the diagonal with all the three outs. I can send it to you.
Yep. Yes, please. I will. I will definitely be watching that. I'm going to see if I can find it on my own
Yeah.
on there. But yeah, there's probably a bunch of those little patterns that we're just not aware of until you're aware of them. And
Hmm.
like that, they determine the cut for a reason. It's not nothing is random. Everything there's a choice behind everything in there. So that'll be interesting to see if I can find that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Go back to the other point you mentioned. This is the second point I had, and then I lost it about
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
the puzzles with no boxes. Um, have you ended up okay? I'll say I've had a different experience with the puzzles that somebody gave me, or my friend. She prepared some unboxed puzzles for me, and some of them are ones where I'd seen the image before. Like I saw the pieces. Actually, Morning Greenhouse. I think one that was a very recent Speed Puzzle Pals speed run puzzle or
The
Greenhouse
one that
Morning
the
Morning Greenhouse.
Canadians took over.
The
That
Canadian
one. Yeah.
takeover. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was super fun. Um, so that one, I actually had done it a couple weeks previous because my friend gave me the pieces without the box. And I immediately knew what the puzzle was. And I kind of remembered some bits of the orientation. I'd done it a year ago or something. And so that was a fundamentally different solve experience for me than doing a different puzzle for which I had no reference image and that I'd actually never seen the image before. And I'm wondering if you're finding that difference. Are you getting bagged puzzles that you recognize?
So what I specifically asked not for Ravensburger puzzles because I've done so many.
Mhm.
And I've also taken all my Ravensburger puzzles I have removed from the boxes and put into separate bags, and I can't put them back into the box until I get under a certain time period without
Mhm.
looking at them. So it's helping practice that way. It's also making me really focus on small details and piece cuts for the Ravensburger.
Yeah.
That's separate. But for the puzzles that they've given me, um, I've all the ones I've done so far. I didn't know what the image was when I started. There was one, I had seen one of the puzzles before. It was one of Alejandro's puzzles that he designed. I knew that puzzle existed. I have seen images of it. It didn't register in my mind at all. And
Mm.
then recently, I also did one where it's that spiraling staircase rainbow one, which was used in an EJJ competition. It's a Clementoni puzzle. And I've
Yeah.
wanted to do that since I saw it come out until I was finished the puzzle and had marked down my time and gotten up to get my phone to take a picture of it. It wasn't until I actually clicked the picture that that image registered in my mind as what it was. I thought it was
Mhm.
a roller coaster almost the entire way through because of the handrail on it. And I
Oh.
got to the end and I was like, I don't see the roller coaster. Like this is a weird thing on there. And until I was standing on a chair to take an aerial photo of it, so I had have the full aerial view, that's when it clicked in. I am not registering yet any of
Yeah.
these puzzles, even if I've seen them. So I'm happy about that because there's no chance that's going to
Mhm.
happen at the World Series because it's an unpublished puzzle. It's a brand new puzzle, so
Mhm.
everyone's on the same level, starting level.
Interesting. Yeah. I guess my comments towards the idea that like knowing the puzzle, like having seen the image briefly changes it, but one of the things that it changes a little bit is orientation. And so I've been thinking about what type of puzzle are we going to get? I feel like even the landscape photography has its own difficulties, and we aren't used to doing as many of that type of image here in the Americas. At least there's like a clear, this is the sky, and maybe the water is going to be surrounded by some green, and the forest, the mountain will probably be the next thing under the, like you can kind of orient yourself versus an illustration where, or actually that spiral staircase, that rainbow, I forgot what I know which puzzle you're talking about, but I'm forgetting what the name is. That one's one where
Color boost something stare. I don't know, but it's color
something like
something.
that. Yeah, but you don't have that added general information of where a component might be because that puzzle image, I feel like you could rotate it several ways and you could be like, yep, this is how it's meant to be. Like there is no clear up or down. And that makes solving more difficult without a reference image, is what I
Yeah, I
found.
do have, by the time this gets posted, I will have one of my speed puzzling 101s out that talks specifically about trying to figure out the orientation
Mm-hmm.
before well without doing the image. I've lucked out with everyone I've done so far that I've gotten the right orientation from the beginning. There's been some that have words, which makes it easier,
Oh,
but I've not had a landscape yet. But the staircase, it's Color Boom Stairs is the name of it.
yeah.
Um, I just happened to get because I thought it was a roller coaster. I just figured, oh, this is where this loop would probably go, and that's I just put it in the right corner. When I saw it after, oh, I got it right, and I've been lucky so far all the way through. But yeah, if we get a landscape, like you mentioned the Canadian Nationals puzzles qualifiers, were they difficult? Which one was more
Mm-hmm.
difficult? My round was Joffrey Lakes, where the
Mm-hmm.
sky and the water overlapped in white.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people, myself included, that mixed up the two if you try to do that too early instead of building off other sections. So we could get a landscape, but it could be a reflective landscape, and
Yeah.
Now it's
Or
even tougher.
there's another one that does that I had an issue with, even though I was doing it with the image, which was, I believe it was a finals solo or finals qualifier round for 2024 US Nationals by Nathaniel Mortensen, called Hot Air Balloon Valley. And so
Yes.
it's
Yep.
got floating islands. And then because there's an island that's floating, there's sky above it, but then there's also sky below it. And that tripped
Yep.
me up because I thought, oh, sky on top. Oh, oh, and under the island. Okay.
Yep.
So took me a second there. Mm-hmm.
I do like that puzzle. That is a fun puzzle to do. But for the first time, and you don't really realize, yeah, how that sky goes in different spots. And even that, there's a rainbow in there with the gradient. Is that
Mm-hmm.
enough to be considered a gradient puzzle? Again, we don't know what's going to show up at the how big does the gradient have to be to be considered a gradient? So there's so many questions that we can't get answers to until we're sitting at that table. But you will get 6 puzzles in 2 days to add to
Yeah.
your rollout of puzzles to post.
Okay. I don't mean to derail and keep us on this too much, but yeah, 6 days. Yeah, I'll have like four days I can work on other stuff. Okay. Question for you. Would you have preferred to not know anything in advance about the challenges and to just know each round is gonna test you on a different skill? End of sentence, end of information. Like, do you prefer knowing, or would you prefer not to know at all?
It's I I would be okay not knowing
Mm-hmm.
because I know who is organizing the event. I know
Yeah.
that it's not going to be chaos and it's not going to be the weirdest possible things like we could think of. If there were other organizations or individuals that were organizing it, I would be nervous that they're just kind of making it up as they go.
Mm-hmm.
This brings a bit more credibility, I guess, to the event, and it's showing that this is clearly a different goal for each of these puzzles, and it shows that it's going to be a wide range of abilities. I would be nervous if they didn't tell us, and I showed up and one was, and it's just different puzzles,
Yeah.
just randomized different puzzles that didn't have a clear theme across each one. I wouldn't like that. I'm also not too concerned because like I'm not going to go out and buy 20 Ravensburger repeating puzzles because those don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's you can practice, but really what are you practicing
Mm-hmm.
that for? Because we know enough about each of the categories that we know what we're signing up for, but not so much information that we can actively seek out specific
Mm-hmm.
puzzles. Um,
Yeah,
so
they
I'm
kept
I'm
it
okay with
vague.
it.
That's
Yes.
a good point. I hadn't thought about what you mentioned about trust, but they're making their thought process visible, and now we know how intentional it was. And like you said, they're not giving us so much information that we can really backwards solve. And yeah.
And in my first preview video of that's for this World Series. This was before we knew anything about it, even really before we knew who was running it, and a lot of us were thinking, is this just a scam to get information from us and sign up on this random website, all that. And there was a lot of questions at the beginning. And then we found out what the 6 challenges were. We knew there were 6 challenges, but not what they were.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to predict as many as or guess at what I'd like to see, and it was something like you just did at the EJJ 2 500s in a certain time period, or 1,000 piece puzzle in a certain time period. Would we see
Mm-hmm.
mini puzzles, or would we see circle puzzles, or would we see 3D puzzle, and all a bunch of different things? They kept it a lot more normal, I guess, than some of the
Mm-hmm.
guesses I was going to have.
Yeah.
But I like it because it does show that yeah, we might have somebody that is amazing at a gradient and flies
Mm-hmm.
through it and then just trips and falls when they can't see the image in
Mm-hmm.
challenge number 4. So are they really the best or are they just really the best in one category? I like
Mm-hmm.
this. It takes away the luck aspect we see at the World Series, not the World Series, at the World Championships,
Yeah.
where I didn't make the finals because of the puzzle, not solely because of the puzzle, but heavily because of the puzzle I got in my round. If I was in a
Mm-hmm.
different semifinal, I'm easily into the finals, but I got one that's not in my wheelhouse. So the busy, detailed puzzle, I love that.
Hmm.
A repeating puzzle or a flower-based puzzle or something like that, I'm out type of thing. But that's why
Mm.
Gibson's makes me nervous too, because Gibson's loves
Yeah.
flowers.
Oh, we have this whole chat group amongst everybody in the US trying to trade around the few and very precious Gibsons we've been able to get a hold of because we don't have a good source here. And it's like $80 between tariffs and shipping to get something from the UK Gibson store. So I found a few on eBay. Oh, I went to a local thrift store and I found a Gibson's puzzle that had a Goodwill sticker from the UK. It's £2.50. So somebody had bought a Gibson's at a thrift store or I get a Goodwill in the UK, brought it across the ocean, and then donated it to a thrift store here in the US in the middle of the highway. And then I happened to go there and I thought, oh, a Gibson's. So I found one in the wild. It was cool. But also, we have some on Amazon, but we very quickly discovered that the circular cut of the American made Gibsons is different from the European cut for the circulars. So some folks have ordered some from the UK and we're trading those around at nationals. I have on loan a panoramic that I borrowed from somebody at Winter Carnival that I'm going to return at nationals. So we're just like we're trading them around like precious commodities.
Yeah, they are tough to get. They're not even easy in Canada, and there's some that are available, but yeah, this piece cut is
Mm-hmm.
slightly different. I've posted on like Facebook swap pages saying, here's the situation. I am going to a competition in Germany, World Series. Can I just borrow the Gibsons from you and then give them back to you like a unorthodox type of swap? I say I have other things to swap if I need to,
Mm-hmm.
but I just need to borrow them just so I can practice handling Gibson pieces and go through them. And there's been some people that have generously said, "Yeah, here you go. Just let me know when you're done with them." Nice Canadians out there, but it was, yeah. I'm really hoping that the images are kind for when we get to those rounds. But I am fully
Yeah.
preparing for flower-based puzzles for
Yep.
the Gibsons.
And these like nice waterfront kind of painted images. My first panoramic though took me like an hour 38. So well over the I think it's
90 minutes.
130. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
well over like a good almost 10 minutes over. So
Yeah, February was my month of no boxes. I'll continue that into March, but March is when Gibsons will be making their appearance on my table, going through those and some panoramics, hopefully some
mm,
circles, just to get used to the spacing, if anything.
yeah.
Um, that's the main thing, especially for the panoramic. I am nervous for that space utilization, but yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes. Um, this has been great. I just have a few closing out questions for you. I'm just cautious of the time here. Don't want to take up too much of your time. So there's a few things that I ask all my guests as we close this out. The first thing, because this is sort of I don't know, educational puzzle channel in this sense as well for people getting into it, and people of all ability ranges. You are entering some big competitions this year. You do a lot in the speed puzzling community. When it comes to goal setting, which is something a lot of people might find a bit challenging, how do you go about setting up yourself for realistic goals?
I think I touched on this a little bit, but I'm really trying to not think about time as a goal or placement as a goal because I'm not to the point where I'm actually hitting those those podium ranks in general. But also I think it skews your ability to grow or it can like stagnate your ability to grow a skill if you're really focused on the outcome and you're not willing to take a few losses while you try to change how you're doing things. Um, so I think I like having goals around practice and process um, that are things I can have control over. I control who shows up at a competition or what puzzle we have or how fast other people are. you know, I don't want to win because everybody who's faster than me got sick. That's I mean, so what? That doesn't mean you've improved. Um,
Wins a win.
yeah, yeah. So like if I can give like a little window into the preparation I'm doing right now, I'm not the fastest, but I'm taking it really seriously because it's fun to take it seriously. there's this concept in machine learning. I swear it's not too mathy, of like the global maxima. So say you're trying to get to the highest point. You're hiking, you're trying to get to the highest point, and you walk in a certain direction. You're like, oh, I'm going uphill. This is great. I'm going to continue walking uphill. And then you get to the top of like that hill, but that's as far as you can go. And in order to like, and then you turn around and you're like, oh, there's a higher mountain over there. But in order to get to that higher mountain, I have to go down a little bit and then climb back up. And so it's like right now I have a lot of comfort with the way I've started puzzling, but it's only serving me so much. And some of the things I'm doing are really inefficient. Like I'm really doing one thing really well, but at the cost of like compensating for the things I wasn't doing well. And so I'm trying to like get out of my comfort level and my comfort style of comfort zone style and practice things that feel slow and uncomfortable right now so that I can build new skills and maybe climb to a higher mountain overall. And so if I was solely focused on time and just puzzling as fast as possible, I wouldn't do that because my times are going down when I'm trying to puzzle in weird ways that I haven't puzzled before. So that's kind of where I'm at with my thinking. Yeah. So what I can control is how much I practice, and so I set my goals around that instead of outcome.
Yeah, which makes sense. I enjoy that. Where sometimes you have to go down to go up, which I think is a great way to look at things. And then I also include Speed Puzzling 101 short, quick lessons, more or less, on this channel as well. So I ask all my guests, is there a piece of advice or a tip or a challenge that you could provide me that might be featured in an upcoming Speed Puzzling 101 episode?
Oh my goodness. Do I have a favorite drill? Uh, how far have you done speed runs? Or how much do you like to do speed runs? I know you've talked about it a little bit, but
In what sense?
okay. I'm so sorry in advance. This puzzle, I'm so sorry. So I know that you are generally a faster puzzler than me, but this is one of my speedrun puzzles. I think I did this at least a dozen times, and I think my time is currently faster than you on a PB. And I'm sure that you can, I'm sure that with a few more times you could get it more quickly. You could get it done more quickly than me. So it doesn't have to be this one. But I'd say it might be a little bit boring, but there's some fun in trying to do a single puzzle as fast as possible. So if you haven't like really gone all in on a speed run, I recommend it. It's so fun to just like know every piece of a puzzle.
I have done a few, not with that one, but I have done an episode on repeating puzzles and speedruns. So I think that is a good idea to have on there, and there are benefits to it as well. More so anything, it just shows you how fast you can actually move when you're doing something like that, whether you're getting a sub hour, 50 minutes, 40 minutes, sub 30 minutes, whatever it might be. It's good to tell your body and your brain this is how fast you have to go to be able to do that. So no, I think that's a great idea to include.
Yeah, this is what fast feels like. So
yeah.
TLDR, I think my time on this one, I'm not sure if I emailed you this, but my PR on this one is 39:46, which I think you
that's
can
faster
do.
than mine.
I think you can do
I've only
it.
done it once, and it was an hour and 2 minutes or something like that was my first attempt, and that was disappointing. Anything over an hour is very frustrating, especially when it's that close for me. But sub 40, oof, that's going to take a few attempts.
I think you can do it if you want to.
We will see. We will see. I will set that as a goal. So yeah, just a few quick fire questions left before I do those. Can you just remind everybody where they can view your various content?
Yeah, Radical Puzzler on Instagram, Radical Puzzler TTV on Twitch, or if you just want to watch people puzzle on Twitch, you can look up the jigsaw puzzle category on Twitch, and you'll find a bunch of people there.
Awesome, thank you. And that's all in the description below as well. So just some quick fire questions, whatever comes to your mind first to kind of close this out. And here we go. Your favorite brand of puzzle?
Right now it's Cobble Hill because Linda, what's her name? Maxwell. Linda from Cobble Hill, their outreach person she's wonderful. So yeah.
Great. Your favorite piece count?
500.
Your favorite cut style?
Random. Cobble Hill.
Okay. Your favorite puzzle event?
Oof. Mm, I really like Winter Carnival. I might, I might. The close second is the 24-hour puzzle marathon in California because it was really fun to be singing ABBA songs at 3 a.m. with a bunch of other delirious folks.
I have one coming up in end of March, and I kind of hope that doesn't happen. ABBA's fine, but it's no. Your favorite puzzler?
Oh no. Uh they're all my friends. I can't choose a favorite friend.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I'll keep going, but I'm going to assume that it's going to be a few of the people you mentioned in this chat already. So go and watch them on their Twitch streams as well. Your favorite puzzle that you've ever done?
Uh I think, man, it the thing is it changes a lot. It changes a lot. I think probably, oh, I can't remember what it's called. It's an Ebu. I think it's like Happy Dragon. It's this beautiful illustration with the dragon in front of it and a castle and some soft colors, 1,000 piece. That one's just fun because I bought it because it looked cool and I did it and it was cool and I didn't speed puzzle it. Yeah, I don't know. I just had a great time with that one.
Nice. Your hardest puzzle that you've ever done?
I did 3 crypts earlier like in the spring last year. Those were a struggle. I used the guide. Uh, yeah, I finished them.
That's fair. I'm not a fan of the crypts. I've done one, and that's probably an it for me. Your least favorite design to see on a puzzle?
Uh, in the words of like Mari Black and Jim Eakins, I'm trying really hard to not have something that I open and is going to just like I see the image and destroys my mental. Yeah, I reject the question.
All right.
Sorry.
Pink flowers is the correct answer for that, by the way.
Okay.
Um, no, your favorite puzzle moment that you've had?
Mhm. It's hard to pick one. Yeah, it's really hard to pick one. Uh, if I had to say like a category of moment, it's just like getting to hang out with folks in person at the competitions in between the rounds and seeing people in person. Yeah.
I think I think that's a great answer. That's still a moment. It's just not every moment's at the puzzle table. There's a lot that goes into this.
Mm.
Your favorite way to get new puzzles?
Ooh, okay. I am a uh very frequent patron of the library swap shelves around all the local libraries in the towns around where I'm at. So, yeah, I there are 3 library swap shelves that I frequent, and I just put in a swap shelf in my building. So that's been a place that some folks have dropped off some fun things there. And then I also have some friends who go through a lot of puzzles as well, and then know that I end up donating and swapping through the libraries. So I feel like I'm part of a puzzle distribution system that goes through Connecticut, and I do a lot of the puzzles as they pass through my hub of the distribution system.
That's convenient. And the very last question, your dream puzzle that you've not done but wish you could.
Oh, okay. It changes a lot too. I just saw yesterday somebody posted on Instagram a puzzle that features a dragon covered in snow. It's a 500 from a speed puzzle competition. I think a French speed puzzle competition. It's called Le Dragon du Printemps or something like that. Like, and I looked it up. You can't get it shipped to the US. You can't get it shipped to
Of
the
course.
UK, or you can, but I can't pay for it and have it shipped to my sister's house. So I'm not sure how far I'm going to go to try to get that particular puzzle, but I saw it and uh, I saw it and I really want it now.
maybe it'll appear somewhere in Munich in May.
Hmm.
Who knows? No, that's great. That's Thank you so much, Isa, for joining me, and it was lovely talking to you. The stats stuff is interesting to me. I hope it is to other people as well. But your Twitch streams that you're doing so much, and I'm sure we'll meet each other in May in Germany.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.